environment.
I think this is a perfect game for Fnatic Onyx to kind of try out the Juicin, to be honest.
Or even for Fnatic Onyx.
Yeah. For first pick, they should take the Juicin. You know, like Smart Omega. If they let it through, I don't think they want to, but it's okay to kind of test the waters on how far this Juicin is going to be pushed to the limits in the right hands. Right?
But would that be a responsibility for Fnatic Onyx or Smart Omega to ban?
I think it comes down to Smart Omega banning it. I feel like Fnatic Onyx is very eager to jump on the bandwagon and say, hey, is this good? Because so far, if you think about this here, it has been Zas. Today is the day where, what is Zas?
What is Zask? Zask is...
You know what's really surprising? I was looking at a glimpse onto the match between Rebellion versus AP Brand. I didn't see a single Zas.
Not banned, not picked?
Not yet.
Okay.
Interesting. I mean, we do personally believe that Zask is a little boring to watch. You can't deny that he's very effective.
Okay, it's banned now. It's banned now.
Yeah, looks like they do ban it out, but now this creates a very tricky situation because if Omega bans Juicin as their final ban, you are giving Kyrie Ling and yeah, you know, or Hayabusa or anything like that.
Yeah,
okay, Ling's gone.
Ling's gone.
So
but
Juicin is
still available. Juicin is available. But yep.
See, called it. The predictor, Icy Baby, can see the future.
So Sans is going to be the one that is going to be piloting onto this Juicin, unless the concept of a Juicin roam is going to happen. But it doesn't feel like a key point thing. But Smart Omega, they responded by stealing away that Hayabusa off of the hands of Fnatic Onyx, since that Hayabusa is definitely available for Kyrie to pick up.
I think it doesn't really matter what Kyrie can or cannot play here. It's more like how they want to learn and improve their gameplay as a team, right? It's not very often you get opportunities to kind of play with international teams. And so far, I think Fnatic Onyx,
there's two kind of stakes.
Because of their current position, their stakes isn't that high to a point that, oh, they need to win this game. They need to prepare for the bigger picture. And personally, I think the playoffs, when they compete the playoffs, that is going to be the bigger picture for them. So understanding the limitations of a Juicin is going to be very, very important. I think one of the interviews coming from YRG, they have already mentioned here, oh, it's not really that much of an issue here. They have figured out the ways on how to deal with it. But that's the thing. They said it, but not every single team is confident in saying that.
So when it comes down to Fnatic Onyx, they have responded really quickly by picking up a Edith for themselves, as there isn't a lot of Romans that will classify to justify picking up Concussive Blast for their emblem. So at least for Edith, that is definitely something available for them, and they are definitely going to pick that out. Followed by Julian. It worked out in game number 1. Let's work with game number 2 again.
In addition, Edith is one of the few heroes that can actually match Arlet in flexibility during the draft. And since Smart Omega already have an Arlet, Fnatic Onyx don't actually know whether this hero is going into Roam or EXP, so Edith kind of plays a similar role and works well with Juicin, as you mentioned, for helping with that wave clear if they decide that it goes over the Keyboy instead.
I highly doubt that they will flex out this Edith.
Yeah, I don't think they would. Well, technically they can, you know, they can put XP, they can put Roam. But I'm more curious on what Smart Omega is going to ban right now here. I'm pretty sure it's a no-brainer. They've got to ban Roger here, kind of limit CW's options in terms of marksman here. Like, I'm not sure why they're hesitating. Maybe they're just discussing on how they want to deal with Juicin. But all in all, I feel like taking away the top 3 S tiers is pretty much a no-brainer. Yeah, okay, they lock it down.
I want to tackle on the topic about flexing the Edith. The moment that you flex out the Edith and put Edith in the EXP, what are the other available Romans that would work out with Juicin? Being able to wave clear fast enough?
I think Angela is pretty good. Rafaela is pretty good as well.
You have Grok.
Yeah, Grok.
Grok is the most obvious. Ruby works pretty well too. Cho even, if you wanted to cancel the Hayabusa. So there's plenty of options. They don't have to worry too much about that. With Moskov and Roger banned, this leans me into thinking that CW might want to go for Beatrix at this point. Like for a lot of these older gold laners, CW, Benny, QT especially, you're gonna go to Beatrix if all the STs are out.
I'm not sure about the Brody pickup if they want to go for it, but now when they have the Aurora, this is gonna be a tough one for CW, right?
It's actually a possibility.
I think Clint is a safer option. Clint is definitely one of the safer options here based on what we're seeing right now. We're not expecting like a Fanny game this game. But no, looks like I'm wrong. You're bringing the carry. All right.
Wait.
A little
Okay.
interesting.
So as much as I want to say that, oh, carry is good or carry is bad, in this case, mostly when you pick up the carry is because you want to deal with very tanky front lines from the opponents by dealing true damage based off of their max HP. But this doesn't feel like a typical carry to me. Would there be a chance that we're looking at the tank carry that we have seen before?
I actually do think there's a good chance it's a Thunderbelt carry.
Yeah, Thunderbelt carry isn't too bad.
How about emblems? Is it that is it the is it the Festival of Blood together with
No. I still think
so.
it's gonna be Swift.
Weakness Finder?
Weakness Finder, maybe? Yeah.
Weakness Finder.
No, sorry. Quantum Charge would be a little bit safer, yeah.
Okay. As much as I really want to see a little bit more sustainability, but perhaps we'll find out a little while later.
Well,
as we have the entire roster that is just going to be locked out. Smart Omega, they are going to be settling down with a Grok onto their final pick.
OMG, they bring in the Kufra to deal with the Harif mobility as well as the Haya. I like this. They've got a lot of answers to this. They've got a lot of CCs. You know, I think that's the thing about Juiced, right? You need to have heroes that has a lot of CC for you to build up those stacks in order to use Lantern and drag somebody back into play. So in this case, Fnatic OMG, they have a decent amount of CCs, decent amount of AoEs here, whereas Smart Omega, they're banging on the fact that I think it comes down to who catches each other's tempo. So that's something that I think Smart Omega has put a very, very solid lineup to test Fnatic OMG's draft.
A pretty scary lineup when it comes down to Fnatic OMG. When it comes, especially when Terrence did mention that Kufra plus choosing combination working on Hayabusa, real scary. But with that all said, we are going to be jumping into game number 2 between Fnatic OMG versus Smart Omega. Thank you, Terrence, onto the panel. We will invite him again once game number 2 is over. How is this gonna be like? Is it a 2-0 in favor for Fnatic OMG, or will Smart Omega be able to defy the gods and give us a 1-1?
I guess we'll find out, won't we, ladies and gentlemen? Game number 2, OMG currently 1 game up on Smart Omega. Considering that Omega is already officially eliminated from the competition, there are no longer any stakes in this game for them, and it is a chance for them to just bring something out for the sake of pride.
So right off the bat, we are looking at both of the junglers trying to be as fast as possible, and it doesn't seem like they are working in the same way. Fnatic OMG have decided to start off on the gold side, while for the side of Smart Omega, they decided to start from the EXP side. So at least there is some form of vertical jungling from Kyrie to work on. He didn't really do what we saw in game number 1, whereby he start off in the EXP, end up on the gold, and then level 3 immediately start poking the gold later.
He actually decided not to gank at level 3, which is a very common move for Julian, and I think that is respecting the possibility of Smart Omega grouping up together and roaming, because they have a Grok and an Aurora. If he runs into the wrong brush, he will get caught. There's a very good chance he gets taken out, especially since he figures Endoryu will likely be close to level 4 as well. But because of the way that Keyboy has been assisting in stealing camps, the Hayabusa actually a little behind on EXP.
So right here in the middle lane, Endoryu, unfortunately, is just a shy bit away from getting the Ogi shadow kill. As such, Keyboy didn't manage to find himself running away real quickly with just a sliver of health.
Looks like Kyrie actually gonna focus on just hard scaling this game. Despite the fact that he knows he already has a level lead on Endoryu, Fnatic OMG is not interested in contesting Turtle.
Yeah, so honestly, Smart Omega, they want to focus onto these standing objectives. Endoryu, unfortunately and definitely not on the same level as Kyrie. Kyrie and friends seems like they want to skill up a little bit more for the later parts, but in the meantime, middle lane seems like we do have Ryota that finds himself being airborne and comboed out with the Edith, but somehow Ryota manages to run away, while the Crimson Beacon coming from the side of Sans did manage to activate Yoinks Chaknu back into the front lines, but it's not gonna do too much from that point on.
A good attempt from OMG. You could see the combo of Zeusin into the Edith for a lot of single target lockdown. The reason they didn't kill Ryota was because Ukir's timing was actually really good with the freeze from Aurora. It stopped them in their tracks before they could follow up and allowed Ryota to dash away.
There we go. That is going to get another combo, but unfortunately Keyboy actually misses out the hit onto the side of Chaknu. The Goddess Barrier activates, and that is going to cut things out a little bit more as Endoryu took that opportunity and brings Keyboy down.
I think Onyx themselves recognize that they'll probably have a little less damage compared to Omega early on, so I think they're just trying to hard scale to the stage where CW and Sans are going to be able to more effectively participate in teamfight. And that means that this is a very valuable window for Omega. If they're able to stifle the aggression from Onyx and stop them from this scaling strategy, then they actually have a pretty good foothold in this game.
So coming up onto this, CW currently, he does have a 2100 gold onto himself, while unfortunately Jome, the master of all trades, with a total of 2500 gold. Okay, we're just gonna see a little bit of a change from the start of CW. He's slowly trying to climb up in gold as much as possible, but the top two, when it comes down to the gold leaderboards, is kind of flicking around between Jome and Endorius, suggesting that Smart Omega, they're actually doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think though, what Onyx is doing is they're trying to play for late game. Hold on.
A really good jump right down the Jome, but not quite enough, or it's not exactly something that Fnatic Onyx wants to continue.
Yeah, I think Onyx wants to play for late game because we already know how scary Zeusyn is when she has 3 items. We know how scary Carrie can be when she has her Trinity completed. So even though they have Kyrie on the Julian, who should be able to snowball off of kills early on with Keyboy, it looks like they're committing to the full team scaling strategy and beating Omega at their own game, basically. Like saying, we're gonna play for late game instead. You guys can try all you want, but if you can't stop us, then we just win automatically once we hit around that 15-16-minute mark.
I mean, it's not quite necessary for a Julian to work off of Snowball. It's definitely great to be able to, but it is not a necessity. Julian will still be very, very viable, even if if the Julian is completely neck and neck with the opponent's jungler. There is still a lot of damage output coming in from the enhanced scythe, regardless. And Julian is one of those heroes where you are able to you choose exactly what you want out of a team fight. You have escape mechanism, you have engage mechanism, you have burst potential, all in a single kit of a Julian. So Kyrie will want to be as flexible as possible, and I agree, just leave it to Sans, wait for the perfect opportunity. Once Sans be able to pick up the Clock of Destiny, I think that is where Jusin will be a lot more aggressive, and that is where Fnatic Onyx will come in together with that aggression.
Well, looks like we're back. Very nice, and thank you once again to our marshals for resolving things so quickly.
Well, the Tyrant's Rage did manage to land onto Ukir, forces Ukir to actually work with the... Oh, it kind of seems as though it was the crown, but it's not gonna be the case. We do have Ukir joining back to the team fight once again, being able to get a kill on the Suns. Lutpi, the next one down. The Keyboy jumps in, Tyrant's Revenge, lands on top of the Andoryu. Kyrie took the opportunity and brings him down. The turtle will now be slain by the hands of Kyrie. And now Fnatic Onyx really happy with the results. They have only lost Sans as well as Lutpi for quite a bit of a favor.
We can actually, I feel like that last sequence is, oh wow, it's not over.
Yeah, Kyrie still want to be aggressive on Ukir, but Ukir still within the heart of the turret and right under the nose of it. This is gonna be safe and sound for now.
Oh, I don't know if Kyrie knew Jome was in there, but he just found him by accident.
But I don't think that Jome will want to continue the fight, as now he purifies himself, ensuring that he would not go down or would not be yoinked out by Sans. But it doesn't seem like it is going to be enough, as he is going to go straight down. The next one on the chopping block is going to be Chaknu. That combination coming from Kyrie and Sans is unfortunately not going to be activated just yet, allowing Chaknu to slip off.
He actually wasted his wild charge though, so that's actually something Onyx was able to bait out. I like that Andoryu used the opportunity to steal away the purple buff, so a little bit of a win there from Omega. But you can see Onyx just upping the momentum the moment they won that previous team fight. They had a really good presence of mind that even though they already lost Lutpi and the rest early on, they still targeted Andoryu and got the turtle.
As the rest of Fnatic Onyx, they are drawing a line on the entire map. Keyboy is right above of the second tier defense turret in the bottom lane, while the rest of Fnatic Onyx will just be going in to steal the opponent's purple buff. Smart Omega knew enough to not jump in and not jump the gun. As we have said before, Smart Omega seems to have a pretty good trigger discipline, and they're just really observing what goes on around the map.
Yeah, I hope that they don't take too long though, because right now the game is going exactly what Onyx wanted it to be. And by the way, when we discussed during the draft, we wondered that this could be a Thunderbolt carry. No, CW is going for the Trinity, and I think that is in line with what Onyx is doing. If they were aiming to fight a lot early on, Thunderbolt carry makes sense. But if they're going for the scaling instead, then just going straight for your damage items is the obvious choice.
Yeah, and I think the Fnatic Onyx is really happy with the progression thus far. In the meantime, the final slash is going to be landing on 3, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like Chaknu will be able to land any much out over the wild charge. Well, Andoru goes on to the back line, was hoping he will be able to do enough damage on the Lot B as he goes off to the primal range. Keyboy all alone, hoping that he will be able to do something, but he's going to be in the hearts of Smart Omega, allowing a double kill on top of Jome. The next one they want to do is to bring down the tier 1 in the middle lane as soon as possible.
And this is what Smart Omega needs to continue doing. They are thriving in the chaos of battle. If they're able to just run down Onyx at this stage, Onyx, who is committed for a scaling playstyle, is not going to be able to quite respond in kind. A lot of that thanks to Ukir controlling the front lines and making sure that Onyx is being punished for walking too far in front. I think Lutpi is still doing a great job. He was on top of Andoru that entire fight, and that is why Kyrie was still able to get the turtle despite the disadvantage, but it cost him his life. So Omega actually evening up the odds right now. Net worth difference basically 0.
Yeah, there's almost nothing at all. So Smart Omega came into that fight pretty effectively with Keyboy and Kyrie down. They are definitely working their way into something a little bit of a bigger scale of things later on. But what exactly will Smart Omega do right now? Because they managed to take down the T1 in the middle lane and the top lane. The bottom lane still is a little bit of a threat because, as you can see, Smart Omega lost T1 and T2 in the bottom lane. They're gonna have to really watch out for any potential split push from the side of Fnatic Onyx.
Split pushing, it seems to be one of Omega's biggest weaknesses because, again, this is a team that really plays closely together and is able to win team fights through that way.
They have a Hayabusa, though.
Yeah, Andoru was doing split pushing earlier on, but you can see that he doesn't do it quite as actively as Onyx. They're just splitting their members all the time. When they group up, they instantly try to make something happen. And if it doesn't work, then they spread again.
I would say the Fnatic Onyx definitely will have some macro plays in order to get themselves the turrets. Like that drawing a line in the bottom lane is what they wanted and what they did. But for now, it is going to be the wall charge that is going to be landing right down on Lutpi, and a chain frost down onto Lutpi brings him down. And this is the fight for Onyx as they are going to be retaliating. Kyrie gets himself a single kill, but Jome takes him down instead. A really good vengeance fight. While Jome, he runs back with a really good synchro chrono dash to get himself a little bit more shields. Smart Omega, they still have quite a lot of people to work around. And Andoru with the OG Shadow kill brings Sans down. Immediately brings himself all the way back onto the Shadow to be safe and sound. This is Smart Omega's retaliation. Bring 3 men down and having the priority on top of the Lord.
This is what we want to see. Omega taking advantage of Onyx wanting to split the map to find a tempo in between rotations where they can really punish them. And I think they actually did find a great window of opportunity there, immediately engaging. Out of everyone they found, they actually did wall charge Lutpi, which is a very important target because he's the one in charge of disrupting the backline. So without him, you could see Onyx just kind of falter a lot more.
Scramble.
On top of that, something people may have missed, Keyboy was charging up a Tyrant's Revenge in the bush to kind of initiate and stop the members of Smart Omega from diving his team, but he got cancelled by Final Slash.
I missed that out.
The Arlet actually scouted the bush without knowing for sure that Keyboy was in there and cancelled him mid-charge animation.
Ooh, that must really hurt for Fnatic Onyx. That would explain the outcome of that team fight. Although I gotta have to say that combination when it comes down to all of the lockdown combined from Chaknu and Ukir, Lutpi actually have got no way of retaliating. Like, he's just rooted down, he's stunned all the way, he's frozen down to the core. There's no fighting back.
It's not a lot you can do because, like, as an EDIF, you usually soak a bit of damage, then you go into your ult mode, and then you dish out that damage back. But this hero is actually weak to being heavily locked down because if you can't ult, you really don't do all that much. And he only has a Thunderbelt right now, so not a lot of defensive items to survive an onslaught like that.
Yeah, he's still half building his items. He does have a robe as well as a the half item of Dom Eye. So So he's kind of working his way on, just kind of double dipping his toes. So it will take some time before he will be able to get some full item. As I believe that we can get some value out of Terrence, because we are already 10 minutes into this game. So Terrence, what do you have for us?
You know, I think it comes down to win conditions, right? Like Smart Omega, they have a very solid trump positions and I feel like they're playing around Uki really well because of this Aurora pickup. And a lot of people kind of anticipated in this current patch as well. Hey, Zas. You know, it's either Zas, Vexana, Valentina. Aurora is one of those very underrated one because of the fact on how spammable its spells are. And it's not the type of spells where, oh, it's just a Novaria first skill. Oh, it's just a casual Farsa stun. It doesn't really hurt that much. But in Aurora's case, those setups are very life-threatening to a point where if you get hit by one of it, you will think it's like nothing. But if you stack it over time, it is a bigger setup for your teammates to kind of whittle you down because it's a very strong peel tool. And I think in Smart Omega's case, they're utilizing it very much more better compared to Sans, who's currently in a situation where you have this Juicine. Hey, I'm dropping my lanterns. Great. Is it life-threatening? Not really. You know, even Jome as well, he was able to time the Purifies a couple of times to kind of dodge Lantern, like 9 seconds here at the last tick before the lift. He purifies it away, cancels out the lift, and then resets the entire stack for Sun. So I think so far, a lot of teams have struggled with Zusin in a sense where if you're snowballing, great, amazing hero. But if you're not on the 50-50, you do need that Brute Force Bracelet as a third item or maybe even a third to fourth item power spike before you see the full effects of this Juicin. And so far, Sans has not even close to those timings yet. And even his third item progression, he's not even going for the Brute Force Bracelet.
What is he actually going for?
He actually went for the Blood Wings.
He does have a, he does have a Clock of Destiny
He's
right now.
got a Clock and Blood Wings.
Blood Wings too.
Not too sure if he intends to go for Brute Force Breastplate as
I mean,
the
he's
third
tanky
item.
now. He's pretty tanky, so...
It's enough, but you usually need that third item before Zusin really becomes the hero that you can never run away from. So I think it's very good that Omega has decided, alright, we gotta play for this timing, we gotta rush them down, and they're able to punish because what Terrence highlighted about the Aurora is actually correct. I do feel like them playing around Ukir has been the main point of what's been allowing them to get this lead.
Right. So since we are now back to the game, thank you so much to Terrence for coming in with that interjection. Gives us a really good idea about what we should be looking out for. Namely, it is going to be Ukir. With the Lord that's just going to be marching down middle lane, Fnatic Oni have got quite a bit to work with as we now have got the final slash landing right down onto Lutfi. Again, when it comes down to the Frigid Frost, making sure that he will not be able to retaliate or do anything at all. Keyboy, unfortunately, is going to be the next one onto the chopping block. Smart Omega doing an amazing job thus far before it even lands onto the inhibitor turret. Smart Omega have already taken 2.
They're coming in with vengeance right here. Onyx have done a good job. They've cleared up the Lord, so they only take a little bit of damage on their inhibitor, but Omega is just pushing it.
They're still the holy defense, as now all of the creeps is just going to be wiped out already. Smart Omega, they are working on a counter-strafing kind of game, and they still manage to take out more kills onto Kairi and CW.
This is probably the best that Smart Omega have looked thus far, and they seem a lot more confident with the way that they're executing their team fights. Perhaps the pressure of no longer having to play to claim a spot in the playoffs is lifting a bit of a weight off their minds, because you're seeing the way that they're taking these fights is really good. They have players diving in the backline, taking control, causing disruption. Again, Ukir being a very important role, because Lutfi is not getting to do the typical Edith thing. He's just getting bursted the moment the fight starts. And that means that this hero kind of amounts to nothing.
It's kind of scary what a Aurora can really bring onto the table. To whoever just kind of looking at Edith and finds that Edith is really annoying, or in fact, any annoying tank per se. Aurora comes in real clutch to really just disable that one frontliner. Smart Omega is working out this front to back very darn effectively.
What Onyx will need to do now is, again, adapt and change their positioning. The reason why Lutfi is always getting bursted at the start of the fight is the way that Kufra works is that he actually waits a bit. Hold on.
Yep, he waits a bit and he lands. As now, he did manage to get a really nice lockdown to Chaknu, but Chaknu flickers away. And they barely alive. Fnatic Onyx used quite a bit just to get him down, but it's not too big of a deal as the Lord will be back in only 10 seconds, which will take some time for Fnatic Onyx to get their ultimates back.
Yeah, CW are gonna need to wait until, I think he's full items before he can really burst down a player like Chaknu. If it's anyone else, I think he'd be able to get rid of them there, but the Grok actually is pretty tanky at this stage, even having that Dominance Ice to slow down CW's damage overall. So,
Keyboy in the action, lands on the Chaknu, but it's not gonna be a motivation to start a fight.
yeah, I think that is why Smart Omega, they want to be the ones in control of the fight, and Onyx doesn't want to force a situation when they know they're already behind in farm. So a bit of a gentleman's agreement there to back off.
Oh, Sans gets himself running backwards with the Crimson Beacon. Lutbeat manages to land a pretty nice Earth Shatter, just disengaging for the entirety of Fnatic Onyx. But now they found us a little bit of opportunity while really whittling down the HP of Chaknu. So the quick little Conceal gets himself running away. The Lord priority ultimately will go over to the side of Fnatic Onyx for now.
That was very dangerous positioning by Sans right there. We know that Zeusin can eat some damage, but he came dangerously close to being picked off. Though Onyx actually followed up on that well by punishing Omega for diving into the jungle to try and finish off the Zeusin. No casualties though, so we end up being reset to 0 and maybe dealing with a bit of a Lord dance here. And I also have to note, Sans' third item is a glowing wand. It is not a brute force breastplate, so he's actually not very tanky.
I would say that with the Blood Wings, it allows him to be relatively tanky already. So I would say give and take, right? You kind of change it away, change the Brute Force Breastplate away for a Blood Wings. You constantly get yourself the amount of shields, which allows you as a Juicin to play poke. So when you poke the opponents, they poke back, you have your shields, and once your shield is depleted, you join back to the fight, you join back to poke later, you get back those shields. It's essentially some form of renewable health.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I mean, that is the reason why we see Blood Wings being used by so many different heroes nowadays. It's just such an efficient item overall. But because of the way Zeusin works, you do typically want to also have that Brute Force Breastplate. Because that is the point...
Reduce crowd control, right?
Yeah, that is the point where Zeusin is kind of difficult to get rid of. And by going for Glowing Wand instead, it means that he's committing to actually a DPS playstyle, which is understandable but risky.
I think that the main reason for the Glowing Wand really is just to deal with Jome. Jome is really darn annoying. I mean, 6-1-3 is the current scoreline, so we are looking at kind of like a front-to-back game from the side of Fnatic Onyx. They deal with the front lines and then eventually onto Jome. They need to eventually be able to ensure that the shield generated by Jome is not going to out-heal the damage potential from Fnatic Onyx.
That is true. We have to remember that Necklace of Durance was combined into Glowing Wand, so it does offer those same properties without forcing your opponent to attack you in the same way that Dominance Ice does. Looks like Onyx, though, have actually been able to zone out Smart Omega, the Glowing Wand actually playing a role in slowly whittling down the opponent's HP and forcing them back to reposition. But will it be enough?
The next item for Sans definitely gonna have to be the Ice Queen's Wand, and once that item eventually pops up for Fnatic Onyx, I think Smart Omega will have to kind of play possum and be really afraid for any form of these poke potentials that Sans will be able to bring onto the board.
Looks like Onyx going to reset here. Got multiple members going back to regen HP. They're able to do this because you can see from the waves that Onyx have actually set up pushes onto Omega's half of the map, and because they see that their players are going to deal with that, they have a bit of free time to go back and regroup without risk of Omega maybe coming in and blitzing the Lord.
There we go. Tyrant's Revenge, Tyrant's Rage, landing right on top of Chaknu. This time, Chaknu is the one that would not be able to do anything, but unfortunately, Lutfi is going to be the next one onto the chopping block. Jome doesn't have a lot of HP left, thus he's just going to work under the beetle to get his HP back. Keyboy flickers himself backwards. Bouncing ball, he's going to be safe and sound for now.
We can see now Smart Omega in a bit of a difficult situation. They still have the gold lead, but remember how I mentioned CW will only become a threat when he has his full items? Well, he does. He completed his Malefic Roar a little while ago, and you can see how difficult it is for people to stand up to him.
A waiting game down in the bottom lane. We have a very slow push for Fnatic Onyx, and they are just waiting for that opportunity. The moment that they see even one hero down in the bottom lane, expect aggression from Fnatic Onyx.
Smart Omega will need to make sure to deal with that, but they also got to make sure they have enough players here in the Lord pit to prevent Onyx from doing the same thing, blitzing the Lord when they know they have a numerical advantage. Daknu gonna continue scouting.
And it does seem like Kyrie will be able to enhance and get the Lord down very amazingly. Keyboy, Kyrie, next one, down. Unfortunately, Chapnu is surprisingly still alive because of the immortality. As such, CW, Lutpi, and Sans, they're gonna have to go back all the way through. It all lies on the Sans. He's gonna have to pick people up and throw them right back. But Lutpi frozen down once again. Primal Wrath, he's gonna be staying alive for a little while longer. But Dome gets himself the godlike. The Lord pushes down and marches in from the bottom lane. Gives Fnatic Onyx a little chance to breathe. But is it really enough for Sans to defend this all alone against 4 members?
This is going to be a 4v1 situation. Another 10 seconds before Keyboy comes back. Omega could blitz this.
He can't clear waves fast enough, unfortunately. As such, Smart Omega gets himself the 1 game away from Fnatic Onyx, the 2-0 that I predicted. My socks, guys, my socks. It doesn't mean anything no more.
Your socks did not help us here, but I think Smart Omega are going to be very happy about that. Yes, it's not going to matter for making it into the playoffs.